Hello. Well, you invited me, and it spun and
I
spun
know,
and
I kept
spun. It
pressing
wouldn't
the
let me
invite
in.
button, but there was some kind of cosmic force. It's all clean. Okay, hello, you're here. We have people coming on, and today we're going to talk about our topic is walking with tolerance, how to stay magic, how to keep your magic in the face of adversity. This topic, yeah, this topic,
Yeah.
yeah.
You
I
want
mean,
to
this
set it
is
up?
kind of near and dear to my heart because I don't usually get involved with politics that much. I don't get into it. I skim the headlines, and that's about it. And maybe that makes me good or bad. I don't know. But it's been a little rocky out there. Like people are, each camp is seeming to dig into their side and get more and more elevated and more hostile and more afraid. And it's a weird time. And in the last couple of weeks, I've thought, I need to make a game plan. I think this year, I think we have a few more months of just sort of not in our faces, but I think as the election gets going, it's going to get really spicy. So I kind of want to have a game plan for myself, for my vibe. The 2016 election blindsided me. COVID blindsided me. I'm not going to get blindsided by the political climate. Like right now, I'm more like, okay, I want to stay in my bubble. And how do I do that? Especially when it's personal. It feels like it's my friends, my girlfriend who's under attack, and that feels super scary. So how do I stay tolerant? How do I vibrate towards joy versus despair? That's what we're going to talk about. It's a scratchy world out there right now.
And
Or is it always a scratchy world? You brought this up yesterday. You're like, these are all just tales as old as time. I thought that was interesting.
yeah, these are tales as old as time, where in essence, although most human beings don't like to admit it, we are pack animals. On a body level, the body conditioning states you must run with a pack, right? And we are actually designed to live in community. And because of that pack animal inherent nature that we have in all of us, we all want to click and find our pack and find our group, our community. And it's very natural to, on a physical level, to identify with your community or with whatever side you're on. And so hence a lot of cultures over many, many ages, you've had one tribe who fights another tribe, whether it's over land issues or because they look different and practice a different religion, or because they have different views or different ways of doing things. There's always been this level of
Hold it.
wanting
Sorry about
to.
that. I think that was me. There was something blinging at me. This is like, okay, hold on. This is what happens when I press
Well,
buttons.
welcome.
This person's like, no, I didn't want this. Sorry. It's my fault. I did it. Oh my gosh, this is a disaster. No, we can fix it. I don't know how to like accidentally, I don't know how to say, there, they fixed it. They fixed
I
it.
think whoever,
Sorry about
they have to
that.
unjoin. Yes.
It said like accept to somebody pressed a button and I pressed a button. Okay. Sorry, go on.
You know, talking about pressing buttons, right? We're all pressing each other's buttons, and one side's pressing another button. And this is a story as old as time. Tribes have been doing it, nations have been doing it, different cultures have been doing it. It's natural on a physical conditioning, body, genetic level to want to click and create your own pack, and then to view the other one as less than, or yours is better, because if yours isn't the best tribe, then why are you in that tribe and how stupid are you? So it's very much a part of our genetic conditioning to want to tribe up and then to prove that your tribe is the better tribe. And this is all just very much body levels. And mechanically, what's going on is, since the dawn of time, human beings have very much fallen into a pattern of just being a body. I am a body, and I'm going to follow the body's genetics and the operatives that the bodies tell me, and I am going to act on my animal instincts and behave in that way. The amazing gift that we have as human beings on the planet, we're not just human bodies, we're human spirits, and the amazing gift that we have is the opportunity to learn how to be so much more than your body. How do you become more than your body? And listen to those body messages. Tribe up, you're in the better tribe, so hence you have to squash the other tribe. How do you hear that message and on a spiritual level go, oh, good body, you're doing what you're supposed to do. Yes, we are pack animals. I like to have my clique, I have my group. Good. Yeah, and do you have to react and be a caveman or cavewoman or cave person, or do you have to, or can you respond? Can you choose to respond in a different way? And as I am looking at the energy of our listeners, there's probably going to be a leaning that's more one direction than the other, but really kind of the telepathic voices that I'm hearing from at least our community, our viewers, is, can't we all just get along? Can't we all just get along? And that is the spirit within each of us speaking, that is bigger than just the body genetics, the body encoding saying tribe up, that just says, well, can we get along? How do we do that? And this is where we're pretty young. We are young as a species. I know we like to think that we're very evolved, but in my opinion, we are still very much in our adolescence as a human species, and we're all still learning how to be so much more than the body. And I want to be careful using that word transcend, but how do you transcend the body levels? Not in a way where you reject the body, resist the body, and become like uber
I'm a star child,
and
I don't have to do anything.
I'm completely out of touch, but I when I use the word transcend, I'm talking more about you're with your body, you can hear the messages, good body, good job, and I want to do something different. I want to choose a different path than just my animal instincts, because I am more than an animal. I am an animal, but I'm more than that too, right? And so this is the struggle that we as human beings have been going through since the dawn of time. How do you be a spirit in a body and recognize its messages, but not become them in a reactive way that's really not going to serve you or the whole?
I've started doing this mantra with myself, because I don't think I want to completely tune out of the news altogether and just be like, oh, what year is it? I'm a star child, like sparkles. But if I'm reading something that's particularly frightening, that that I can feel that I'm starting to like, oh my gosh, these people are going to do this to my people, and we're going to, what the hell, and this is going to happen in catastrophe, da, da, da. I will pause and then say to myself, you are being marketed to right now. Because news has become so, it's being sold to us. Everything we consume with the media is like, to engage and enrage. And I will pause and be like, I'm participating. I'm purchasing what's being sold to me. My attention is being vied for by everyone, and so rage is very addictive. And so, like, wait, I don't have to buy this product, that someone is getting wealthy feeding it to me so that I click more, and start and give more of it. So that's been a trick I'm using, is that mantra of, I'm being marketed to right now. Am I going to accept, am I going to buy what's being sold to me, which is fear and rage. So that's been a little tool I'm using. And other than that, I've been also trying to make a plan of how do I create myself, my container, even if the whole world around me goes crazy. Because I've had some days where I don't usually get scared out in the world, which, but I have had a couple moments in the last few months where I was like, I'm feeling afraid. And what degree is that is real, of like, oh, I'm going to tune into my first chakra, and it's like, yo, bro, get out of this situation, versus like, I'm paranoid, I'm delusional, I'm just being a caveman. I'm going to be a caveman today.
Well, back to the marketing aspect, a really good marketer who is marketing without any consciousness, if you will, is marketing towards those body levels, the human animal in us. You look at food products. How do they market to our body levels with this delicious food? And you're like, and the body's like, I want to eat those French fries and that burger. Right? Or even at the grocery store, they put all of, they design the grocery store so that you're totally fatigued from going through the grocery store, and at the end, it's all the candy. And through that fatigue, the body's fatigued. Oh, I'm tired. I want that little energy bump of that sugar. I'm going to get the candy right there, instead of recognizing, oh, this is how I'm being pandered to. This is how I'm being. Yeah. And as a matter of fact, there was this amazing event that happened. It was I think it was the 70s or the 80s, where Taiwan government was very confused as to why their economy just could not catch a break and could not be more abundant. And so they brought in some top US execs and analysts to analyze their culture, to find out, why can they not increase their GDP? Why can they not become more of a wealthy nation? And these top execs came back with a very simple answer, which was, okay, everybody in your country is too happy. You have to make them sad. You have to make them want things. And you have to make them jealous of other people. So you have to create a division of haves and have-nots. And you have to pander to their animal instincts, their animal nature, which is feeding them either rage or anger, or you want more, or you need this, or that other person, has that, so you get to get angry, or you get to get jealous. All of those, what some might call negative emotions, are strategically how they're marketing to us. And if you can recognize, oh, that's a great advertisement to validate my humanness. Thank you. I'm feeling enraged. And then the question would be, okay, well, how would I like to respond on a soul level instead of just being caveman?
Yeah, but even having the awareness of just like the grocery store, like when you walk in, they also pipe out the French bread and the fried chicken smell into the parking lot. So when you come in, you're like, yes, that's what I need right now is fried chicken. I have emergency.
Right.
But
yeah, or at a bar, they keep the temperature hot and they serve you salty peanuts.
Good with cold drinks. Right. So even having the recognition, I'm being manipulated. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not an analyst. I'm not a researcher, but I don't know how reliable any news source is. Like, it's going to have an angle. It's going to have a particular group of people that it's trying to get. So it's going to give you X amount of this type of story that it knows you want to click on. And so, like, this is fried chicken in my face. I don't have to do this. I feel like there's a dirty joke in there, but I'm going to let it go. I'm going to keep going. So that's game plan number one for me, is like, I don't have to buy the fried chicken. I don't have to buy the fear and the outrage. I don't have to participate in that. And I think the other place I've been going when I think about this topic is, one, am I part of the problem? In what ways am I creating disharmony? In what ways am I intolerant? How am I adding to the my tribe and your tribe? And I realized after thinking about it, I'm perfect. I'm not doing anything. Well, I get isolated. Like, I'm so much in my bubble that it's hard for me to even find situations where I'm around people that are not similar to me. Like, I'm either hanging out with the psychics or the queers. So it's like weird and weirder, and then I was at a thing like about a year ago. I was at a party in Denver, so a friend of a friend, and it took me a few minutes because I was like, what is different? These people are different than me. And then finally I was like, oh, they're straight people. Oh, hi, I haven't seen you guys in a while. And I was like, oh, yeah. And, it was like, gosh, I am like too much in my bubble, but I don't always know how to be out of the bubble. How often are you interacting with someone who's radically different than you and just hearing, what's your take on all this going on? Sometimes that conversation goes well, sometimes it goes bad, and I've thought about kind of psychically putting an intention out there. Like, I would like to mingle more with people that are not in my group and see what happens. And can I come in with a, hey, want to be friends attitude?
Well, and first of all, with regards to what you're being sold, you don't necessarily have to take a media break or a social media break or a news break to do that. Some of you might have to do that, but definitely recognizing, oh, this is what I'm being sold, and then putting your phone or your computer, your TV or your newspaper into a bubble and just leaving that energy over there and being like, oh, I can observe what this person or this news article is telling me, and I can look at it over here, but I don't have to let it get all up in my face, right? I don't need that fried chicken all up in there, right? From there, right, I love that you are examining, wow, it's interesting how isolated I am. And what's going on is, as I was saying, this is a tale as old as time, where we had our tribes, we had our nations, but there wasn't instant access to find out what's going on in other nations or other tribes. And social media and the news, just at a push of a button away, all of a sudden one tribe is able to see what's going on in the other tribe. The problem with it is it's on a screen, and you see that person or that other tribe as not human. They're not a real person. And I love what you're attempting to manifest is not necessarily watching a news outlet that you wouldn't necessarily watch, which I actually do on a regular basis because I like to see what's going on all views and get a whole collective picture from what's going on from the whole. But more importantly, interacting actually face to face with a person who is different than you, asking them questions is going to build a lot more tolerance, and you're going to humanize that person. Oh, you're a real human being with feelings and emotions. And even though I don't think that your side is real or valid, and I can tell you all the reasons and all the statistics as to why your fears or concerns or ideology is incorrect, the minute I sit in front of you physically, face to face, I can actually start to see, oh, your experience, your beliefs are real to you.
Yeah.
They're real to you. Oh, okay, got it. Because mine are real to me. And I do find that if you start any potentially adverse conversation with either thinking that or even saying it out loud, oh yeah, that's real to you. Yeah, I get it. Yeah. And validating the other side, you're more likely to get validation in return than
Yeah.
if you attack.
No, I mean, I've had two of those conversations in the last like decade that were kind of serendipitous, and we ended up realizing, oh, wait a second, we really like each other, but we're also completely different. And it wasn't hostile. No one was trying to fight. It was just it was just two rare moments of like, well, help me understand. I don't get it. Why do you think this? And then, she would say her side, and I'd be like, yeah, I see that from through your eyes, how that makes sense. And it was pretty remarkable. And I remember feeling like, I wish this could happen all the time. And I do feel like each one of us kind of came in a little bit and was not so like, no, you're wrong. It was like, oh, yeah, I see how this way that my tribe has been saying this is actually destructive. So,
Yeah. And you don't have to agree, or that doesn't have to become your experience, but it's more of an acknowledgement. Oh, I see you, right? Namaste. The spirit within me sees and acknowledges the spirit within you. What a great greeting
yeah.
to start off any conversation. Oh, I see what's going on over there, right? It's not my
Right.
experience, but
I think I still like the idea, though, of having my own game plan for the next, I'm calling it year and a half, that I just think things are going to get rocky. Like I just, and I think because I had a couple really bad days. I think we talked about this on here once, but where I just felt very, very low and very like, oh, it's all going to shit in a minute. And, and it just despairing and being scared for people I love. And then, that's like, I'm like trapped in fear and trapped in my analyzer, just like, and for me, the way out of that was creativity. Like, how am I going to react to this? Am I going to just wring my hands and be angry and despair and nihilistic and shut down? Am I going to march in the streets and throw bricks? I don't want to do either of those. I don't have any fight in me right now. Like, I'm not a fighter. Maybe it's my age, but I'm just like, I'm not up for that. So what I am up for is creating and building and saying, well, I'm going to work on creating a joyful place. And whoever wants to come into this place that is about joy and about creativity and community, you can come into this space with me. And let's just make this a bigger bubble of, some joy. Like, what are you doing to create joy? When I'm asked myself that, when I'm like dooming and glooming and getting angry, like feeling super angry at other people. So that's my path out, is what am I going to create? What are my values? How am I creating joy? How am I creating community? What am I building?
well, that word create is a beautiful word to focus on, because on a spiritual level, we are inherently creators. We are creative beings. We like to create. And so what you're saying there is, when I get stuck in some of these body vibrations that are not helpful, I'm bringing myself into more of a spiritual consciousness space by looking at or focusing on spiritual value that most of us carry, which is what do I want to create? What am I going to create? Mm-hmm. And that creativity brings you back up into more of that spiritual vibe. Yeah.
What about when you actually feel scared because there's an actual threat to your actual physical body? You know, I mean, that's happened to you, like times where a rando wandered into the school. I'm glad I wasn't at work that day. No. I'm going to my office. I'm not doing this.
Well, the way that I work with the energy of fear is I keep the energy of fear only in the first chakra because that's where it belongs. Fear is a body vibration, important for the body because you want your body, when it's neutral and it's placed in the correct location in your body, in the first chakra, the fear will signal or trigger in your body when you are appropriately needing to be in fight,
freeze,
flight, or...
I'm a freezer.
Freeze is the best option, but right. And so the body signal will tell you, oh, there's a gun pointing at your head. Yes, go into fear, run, or fight or attack, right? Or I know for me, when, I was hot and heavy into snowboarding, before I jump off a cliff, fear would come up. And I'd be like, yeah, this could mess us up, but we're going to do it. Right? And so I could hear that message and go, okay, cool. Valid point, body. Awesome. I'm going to do that thing. Or yes, I am going to run or fight. Right. The problem with a lot of human beings is we haven't been educated on how to manage our energy systems correctly. So oftentimes fear ends up in other chakras.
Right.
And that's where it gets dramatic. And that's where it gets irrational. Where a fear, if it's an emotional fear, I'm afraid of being emotionally hurt. Or I'm afraid of being emotionally manipulated. Or in the third chakra, I'm afraid of not accomplishing this task, or I'm afraid of presenting in a way that's socially unacceptable, right? I'm afraid of love, or I'm afraid of having my heart broken. It goes on up through the chakras. When fear resides in any of those other chakras, it becomes more of a dramatic, irrational event that's going to make it very difficult for you to work with that energy of fear. Okay. So for me, for example, when I have been in some situations where rightfully, yeah, whoa, this is a valid, fearful experience where I should be afraid of this person who is, waving a weapon around. Right? I can hear that message and go, oh, goodness. Okay, yes. Fight or flight. I'm going to, use that adrenaline to make my body strong. But then because I have learned how to manage that a little bit better, I'm not perfect at it, but because I can hear that response, I can go, okay, I'm going to stay in my certainty and I'm just going to be in a very powerful vibe and be like, I'm so sorry, but you can't do that. You, right. In your example that you're bringing up. Oh, I'm so sorry. You need to leave the school right now. Right now. Thank you. And just, make my energy big and the adrenaline's running, but I use that to make a bigger vibe to say, I'm not going to match your energy of whatever is going on with you. And generally when people are attacking, they're in fear. Yeah, or they're in fear, right? I'm not going to match your fear and confusion. I'm not going to come down to your level. I'm going to be the senior vibration here, and I'm going to call the shots, and you need to go. And, I've just de-escalated a lot of situations by doing that. Not to sound trite, but if you, and you're already doing this, but for any of our listeners who actually does have valid fear, somebody could actually shoot me or I could actually get hurt, right? Because of a person who has different views than I do. Developing your psychic awareness is a great skill to be able to have a little bit of an alarm bell, right, that would go off and say, ding, 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 time to exit this situation. I don't know what's going to happen, but I need to go because my alarm bell is going off and something bad could happen here in the next few moments, so I'm out. In 2005, I think it was, I traveled Turkey for 3 weeks. And it's a country that definitely has difficulties and bombings and shootings, and the different tribes are warring with each other. And I remember having my alarm bell like very clear. Like I was like, I am in a not so safe country, so I'm going to have this here and I'm going to be checking with that like all the time. Not in a fearful place, but like, you're going to let me know when it's about 5 hours before something bad is going to happen in this town, and then I'm out. And I go, nee, nee, nee. And I would leave. And then the next day I'd be in another town and read on the newspaper, oh, goodness, there was a bomb that happened in that town. Thank goodness. And that's literally how I traveled through Turkey. Was every time I got that alarm,
Yeah.
oh, time to go to a new place, Which was great. I ended up in places that I didn't think I would.
Yeah. I've done that too, where I like
Mm-hmm.
I just held my ground and stayed chill, and then the other person de-escalated really quick. It's a practice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've been in situations where there has been like an active kind of attacker situation, and I just like raised my vibration super bright, and it was like that person didn't even notice that I
Really?
was in the room. It's like, yeah, they because they were in such a low vibration, they couldn't even see me and see that I was practically standing right next to them. They just kind of went after everyone else, and I was just like, ding, 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 ding. I'm not matching this. So I'm gonna see what happens. But that was the freeze version of the fear. Where then I just froze. But I was like, okay, my body doesn't want to move. Cool. So I'm just gonna vibe high, and maybe they won't even see me here. And it was amazing. Just a lot of other people, things happen, but
I do that with my car if I park somewhere sketchy where shouldn't. Like if it's like, I don't think that's a parking spot that I should park in, and psychic bubble.
Yeah. Yeah. And it does, yeah. It does work. And then a big part of the psychic practice here at BPI is having some really cool tools that makes your life better and easier. I always say being psychic makes life easy. But a big part of the practice has to do with learning how to grow and how to change. And another big vibration that's happening right now on the planet is in the last 40, 50 years, we have had tremendous change, huge changes in how we think, how we interact. Because of technology, there's a lot of cognitive dissonance going on where the human species really is having a difficult time catching up with how far we have progressed technologically.
And socially.
And
socially.
But yeah. And socially, how do I interact with somebody through a phone instead of face to face? Right? Or how do I put my darn phone down when I'm doom scrolling on the internet or whatever, right? So our brains have literally not, and our bodies have not caught up with the technological changes. It's a lot of change all at once, right? Yeah. Oh yeah, and you were even talking about
think about how much has changed with women in the last 40 years is more than the last 4,000 years. And there's that causes ripples to go off and things get broken, and and queer people and people of color, like all of this in the last few decades has changed so fast that no wonder some lamps are getting knocked over, and an elbow here and like a thing spilled, and it's been this huge thing. So
Yeah. And the thing about change is, generally, as a human species, we are not educated on how to change, how to accept change, how to grow, how to step out of that comfort zone with some grace. And we're not educated on this. And this is what we do at the Boulder Psychic Institute, is literally teach people how to experience what we call a growth period, where you're going through change. And when you go through a growth period, it's very similar to growing pains as a little kid, where the bone all of a sudden gets extra long, and then the tendons and the muscles all have to stretch, and it's uncomfortable, it's painful, it hurts. And we are not educated on how to navigate growth with ease and with some level of grace, or at least some amusement, even though knowing that it's going to be extremely uncomfortable. And because we have a majority of the human beings on the planet that resist change, that are uncomfortable with change, that would like things to stay the same, and maybe even some factions of people that would like for things to revert back to some other direction. The problem with that is the only constant on planet Earth is change, right? Change is the only constant. And I know that's a very cliche statement, but it is so true. And being that so many people actually say it, it amazes me that we aren't educated on how to navigate growth and change, and how to be okay with it, with mostly within ourselves. Because if you can be okay with growth within yourself, it's going to be a lot easier to see it happening out there, to accept, oh, women have more rights, they can actually open a bank account now, or the Black community can vote, wow, and you can accept that more. Gay people can get married if you have more of a practice of growth and change. And that's what we do here at Boulder Psychic Institute, is we teach people some tools to shift their current state into a new state, because most of our students are really wanting better, more. I want my life to feel more comfortable. I want to be happier. I want to be more joyful. I want to manifest more money. They want more or better. And the only way to get to better or more is through change. I mean, it's just obvious, right? You have to step out of that comfort zone. And we have a lot of human beings on the planet that are not practiced with that ability.
Right. Or, as someone who does usher in change, I live a non-traditional lifestyle. I'm married. I'm polyamorous. I have a girlfriend who's trans. I'm bisexual. What is on my mind is, okay, I don't want to have to dim my light so that someone else is more comfortable. And as a change maker, how can you contribute to making it smoother? So that's where I'm a little bit like, I'm not even sure how to do that. Like, I want to have more interaction. Like, I've kind of noticed it, like there's just, queer people and straight people are starting to do this. And I don't think that's the answer. And that's what's been on my mind. I don't have a solution to that, of like, how do I reach out and say, like, I don't hate straight men. Are you kidding? I would be wandering around Chautauqua still right now if that guy hadn't told me, no, go this way. Like, I was lost, and I just stood, and I can't read a map. So I just stood there. I was like, I'm just going to wait for a nice, like, dad type, and he's going to come and save me. Because I can't read maps. And sure, and then, like, this guy comes up, and I'm like, hi. He's like, are you lost? Yep. And he just said, yeah, go that way, turn left 3 times, then turn right, and then you'll see your car. I'm like, okay. But I mean, like, and a lot of queer people don't hate straight people, but like, but then there's these people on TikTok that are raging, and they're getting the attention. And so I'm curious of, like, how do you foster less?
Well, there's a difference between shining your light and just being bright and within yourself and being illuminated like a lamp versus shining your flashlight
Mm-hmm.
right into somebody's face. And usually when you're in that vibe, and a lot of people call that shine, I'm shining my light, I'm being bright. Why did I get attacked? Those jerks, right? And it's like, well, because you were actually not
Yeah.
illuminated like a lamp. You were flashlighting it, your light, into somebody's face, right into their grill. Fried chicken in their face.
Fried chicken.
Right. And it's that's not being light, right? I mean, that is shining a light, but it's a different, the energy behind it is so different. It's prove it, it's I'm better, it's fear, it's all of the vibrations that separate each other, us from each other, and most importantly, separate from yourself. A person who's like doing that, that is not a person who is integrated and in their bodies and in their own peace vibration. That is a person who is dysregulated, who is needing to shine their light in a certain direction. So first, I think, that to answer that question, visualize yourself more like a lantern, where you're just shining in 360 degrees, right? And when you can get to that space, you can be similar, to that experience that I had where I was just vibing bright, and it's like that attacker didn't even see me. Like I wasn't in any vibration of, I mean, there was fear in the body, but I wasn't necessarily matching that or needing to reach out of my space and change the situation, right? I was just in that illuminating in 360 degrees vibration. So that's the difference between being light and shining your light. And like, dude, I just want to walk through the world and be myself.
Sometimes if everyone is afraid, this is a blanket statement, everyone is afraid of not having any space. Where is my space within all of this? And lots of people are afraid of, like, I'm being edged out, or there was no space for me in the beginning and I need to create some space. And so I like that example of, like, can you light within? Can the space come within? Versus like, well, I am going to take up some space. Like, I've been like this because the cultural rules were like this. And so now I'm going to take up a little bit, but how do I do it without elbowing? And I'm definitely different now than I was 6 or 7 years ago, of like, hi, I'm here, motherfuckers.
Well, and the cultural norm is, again, we're not educated on how to create our own space within. And once you know how to put yourself in a bubble and have your own energetic space, you start to recognize, oh, there's an infinite amount of space in the world, so everybody gets to have their own space. Just because you take up space doesn't mean that I have less space. We all get space. The problem is that we're not educated on how to give ourselves space. So when you take up space and you look different and it makes me uncomfortable, then I go into a place of wanting to take away your space because I had not been taught that by you having space, I'm still able to have my space. The conditioning is you have your space, so now I have less space, so now I need to take it away from you.
Everyone starts vying for space and control. Like,
Yeah.
When actually, there's plenty of space. I think, well, we have a question. Did you see this? How do you not match the fear energy? That's a great question.
You need to get fear out of those other chakras and put it where it belongs, in the first chakra. And that way, then it's just your unique body response telling you fight or flight or freeze, right? and that is the simplest way to not match because the fear that you're talking about in that question is somebody's emotional fear, somebody's, communication fears, or somebody's perspective fears in that sixth chakra. And by just bringing your fear down to the pragmatic, where it belongs kind of level, you won't match those other vibrations of fear. It's very simple. The other one is, if you're more of a beginner student, just be in your bubble. Just be in your bubble. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And let's see.
I want to speak to just one more thing with regards to fear. The ultimate first chakra fear in the body, right, where it sounds an alarm, is you're going to get hurt or you're going to die. And that's a great alarm signal to have happen in your body. The way that I work with that level of fear, which is an appropriate level of fear, is through my spiritual practice and neutralizing death, right? Everybody's body will die someday, right? And can I let go of any expectations around how long I should live or how long I must be physically present on the planet, and get neutral to, at some point, my body will die, and it's going to happen in some way or another. And the beautiful thing about becoming more spiritually conscious and aware is that it's not any different than when I put my body to sleep at night and my spirit traverses the astral plane and I have my conscious astraling experiences. Death of the body, to me, and we'll see, in next lifetime I'll come back on some live on some different platform that's popular.
It's me
in 50 years. I'll tell you whether that worked or not. But generally speaking, I have a lot of peace around death because I have that conscious awareness of the other side. There is no difference between my awake and asleep moments. And I'm going to kind of assume that there's not going to be a difference between the death and being on the other side experiences.
I got to that place the other day because I found friends of mine were going out to a club, and I was like, I don't want to go. I don't want to be in a gay club. And then I just kind of kept thinking, my mind was racing about my group I organize, and then I just, so I died. What am I going to do? Go home and hide under my covers? I used to work for this guy, Gino, rest in peace. He died 2 years ago, but he died. And he told me a story. I was young, like 19 or 20. He was like, you can't be afraid. He had an Italian accent. And he's like, I knew this guy who was afraid of everything, and he stayed in his bed and never left, and he had a huge crucifix on his wall, and then one day that fell over and killed him. And I was like, I don't know if the story is true, but also, I'll take
a good one. I like it.
So I think about, there's these little Gino-isms that I still to this day, I'm like, yeah, a crucifix is going to fall down and kill you because you were afraid. So it's like, I guess I'm just going to live, yeah.
Yeah, it's that cliche statement. In order to really live, you have to be okay with death. I mean, it's a lot of people say it, but very few people have actually figured out how to put it into practice.
I don't know if that's as easy for me with other people. Like, fine, I die. You die. Okay, I'll see you soon. But someone else, I'm like, oh, don't die. But it is once you go down that fear road, it's like, well, follow it all the way to the end. What are you afraid of? The crucifix falling off the wall and killing you dead. But might as well take it. The last thing you see, Jesus. But
so then, for you, can you shine your light like a lantern? And, now that you're more neutral to death, okay, I'm just going to do my thing. And if somebody decides they're going to attack me on a body level and take me out, well, blessings. blessings to everybody. Great. I'm going to transition over
Turn
and
into a demon.
good luck.
And come back.
Right. I will haunt you.
Yeah. So
that's what I say to my husband is, in the natural order of things, you'll probably go first. He's like, no, you're going to go first. I'm like, that's cool. Then I'll haunt you.
His laundry's like spilled over. Yeah. So I think my game plan, be aware of when I'm being marketed to, say no to the fried chicken unless I actually want to buy it.
Yeah, and just keep it out of your space. Keep it out of your field.
Vibrate as a lantern. Choose.
And remember, you're more than a spirit. You're more than just your
what
body.
Am I creating? Mm-hmm. And what joy am I creating? That's, because I'm not in a fighter. I'm not fighting. I'm not in a fight mindset. I'm in a create mindset. And grand finale, just be okay if you die.
In the practice here at Boulder Psychic Institute, every time you take an energy and you release it, you're having a little mini death every time. That old part of you is dying and you're stepping into that new part. I mean, that's change, and the more that you can practice little changes in your life, you're going to be okay with all the changes that are happening in the world, which is inevitable, but you'll be okay and cool with the ultimate changes when the body dies. Yeah. I like your game plan. I think it's a good one. Yeah. Does anybody have...
Miwa left us, you guys. She'll come back. She was just saying, does anyone have a question? Some of these I didn't see, but don't you attribute playlists? We have... Beautiful. Okay, Laura, your question, or don't you attribute playlist we have in the physical or changing them to belief work? That sounds like what you're saying is change your energy, change your actual situation. Wasn't quite sure on the wording of that question. Okay, you guys, I don't know if being big and bright won't take away from someone else being bright. I love that. That's sweet. I'm just looking through to make sure we didn't miss any questions. How do you accept people that don't want to change while you are changing? I think we kind of touched on that. I think that you give them space. So when they can have their experience, when you can then psychically, that looks like putting them in a bubble and observing them neutrally, which means you see them, you validate them. I see why this matters to you. I see how it impacts you. And that's it. You let them have their experience and you get yours, and you don't try and get in their space. And then to the degree that which you don't get in someone else's space, they tend to not get in yours. And sometimes when you can show people, hey, you do you, I'll do me, they tend to go, okay, and it takes patience. I will speak to that. When I changed how I was living and did it publicly, I came out. I'm married. That was a big deal to come out and say I'm going to live differently. And it took me about 5 years to calm down and to not have that fight attitude with other people that were not okay with me coming out. And the more I just gave them space of I don't need to convince you of anything. You can have that opinion. It's fine. You're entitled to that. I'm over here. You're over there. Then it's been remarkable how people that surprise me have really come back around and come back into my life. But, hey. I don't think she's gonna. We lost Miwa, everybody. She must have gone over to the astral. Well, that was that. Wait, hold it. She's back. Let's see. Hold it. It takes a second. Hey, you're back. I told everyone you went over the astral. They thought you were dead.
I was trying to read the questions, and I think I pushed some button got pushed.
Today was a button day. Today was a pushing the wrong buttons day.
Well, and that's really what it's all about, right? Like pushing each other's buttons, and how do you clear your buttons so that things go smoothly?
Yes.
You did a great job answering questions, by the way. It was good.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Were you watching me from the other side? Yeah. Well, we have one quick question. I think we have a couple minutes. With social phobia and anxiety, how do you get rid of fear? We did a good one on that we have and it's on our YouTube channel, of anxiety. And we go into a lot on that about being in your first chakra, being in your body, bringing your first chakra in, getting into the body so that social anxiety doesn't flare up so much.
And social phobia is really fear, that fear vibration in the inappropriate chakra. So you just have to bring that vibe into the appropriate chakra, which is the first chakra.
Would you say just kind of using your intention to just be like, all that fear lives in the first chakra, and if it really is dude with the club, okay, then I'll listen to the bling bling, you know?
Yeah, and in a meditative practice with the tools that we use, you would call that fear out into a rose out from all of your chakras, and then ground it, neutralize it, and then put the neutral fear into your first chakra. So for those of you who are watching that are students.
Yes. I think we did it.
Yeah.
I'm going to try and make friends with people that are very different than me. I don't know how I'm going to do that. I mean, everyone likes me. I'm fine.
Everyone likes you.
Except for when they don't, but never mind that.
Yeah, I love it. That's a great game plan.
All right.
Bye. Be okay with death. Make friends with other people. Interact with them actually physically. Yeah. We've got some good task items for everyone.
We just start intermarrying, sending people over to that side to marry and vice versa. Like we'll do like a wife exchange. That's next class. We'll talk about that next class. Like merge the two groups.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of the interracial marriages is definitely changing the game here on the planet, with just everybody coming from different genetics, right?
Yeah.
And, at some point we'll all just be so mixed that there we go. We won't really have that difference anymore.
Okay. All right. Good job today, Miwa.
Yeah. Good job.
All right. I'm going to say bye.
Keep it light, keeping it fun.
Great. You warmed everyone up to the idea of death. We did it. All right. I'm going to press the X, you guys.
I will die someday. Bye.